I tell them at the beginning that I joined the church in 1955, and the reason why I joined it from one of our missionary churches, Walnut Creek Baptist Church. Our children were 4 or 5 years old. We had a boy and a girl, and there wasn't much of a music program at a country church. They had a little choir, maybe 15 people, and a piano, and so we had heard that First Baptist Church in Austin had a wonderful music program for the participants in membership of the church. One of the other elements at the old church was that there was no place where you could have a small group meeting in privacy, and so one of the things that the building committee directed us to do was to design a parlor where you could have sync service, and you could have pictures, and you could have small gatherings and couches. It became a parlor, and it's one of the most used parts of the church, as far as I know, in the last 40 or 50 years. We are now in the chapel of the church, which also the old church at Denton, Colorado did not have, where you could gather in a small group and have a Sunday school or a speaker or some book reviews and things of that nature. This room will seat about 100 people. And if you can tell, it's the shape, all of the brick and all of the windows are all similar to those that are in the sanctuary, with a similar design. And one of the things that we really cared about was to make this a comfortable, easy place where you could talk about things that were hard to answer, questions that you might be able to have raised in the discussion group. Also, they use this room for small meetings with a visiting pastor or a visiting member of this, what's the organization we belong to?
BGCT?
CBA. And large committee meetings that we meet with. The feature over here that I think is very interesting is that we left the brick out of this corner on each side and made some more of a church glass, and so the sun reflection on that will hit this glass that's on the cross and give it some glow at certain points of the day. These windows with writings from the Bible are from the original church at 10th and Colorado, and the committee wanted them to be located in the new building in some location where they would be seen by people coming to church. And therefore, you can see there's 4 of them over there, and on the other side of the building there's 4 more over there. And everybody was really pleased with the fact that some of the old came over to the building that was new. Well, at the old church on 10th and Colorado, we never had a center aisle in the church. And one of the things my daughter said to me about when she was about 16, says, well, Dad, she said, I'd like to get married in the center aisle church. And I said, okay, honey, we'll take that to the building committee and see what they think. And they adopted that and said it was fine, and it's wide enough and broad enough for weddings and funerals to occur and have a center aisle. And that's the reason it got there, because we never had one at the old church. If you look up at the chancel area, and you see the net and the cross, the question comes from everybody that talks about the design, what is that made of? Is it wood? And we told them no, it's made of styrofoam and stained to look like wood. The seating arrangement is such that we can seat about 500 people in the sanctuary seating, 250 in the balcony, and 50 in the choir. So that's about 800 people. be able to have a lot of light on the chancel area of the church so that we could have a lighted church without having to turn the lights on because of the sun penetration through that mixed colored glass window. The strange thing is that the day we walked over here from the old church to the new church, when we got here, it was about 11 o'clock, and the sunlight was bright red on the cross when we walked in here. And it was amazing to see that there was blood on the cross. And we didn't design that. I think one of the interesting things that people look for in the sanctuary, besides the net, is the communion table and the pulpit and the baptistry. And those elements are placed in their location for a reason. The biggest reason was that at the old building on 10th and Colorado, we had a choir standing behind the standing behind the pulpit, and the baptistry was in front of the pulpit. And so you walk down into the baptistry and come out the other end on stairs. And it was very hard on the choir to be able to stand there and look at the rear end of the pastor through the whole sermon. And so we decided to move the elements. We put the choir on the left-hand side for a reason, in that when they're not singing, they become part of the congregation in worshiping. And then we put the baptistry on the other side because we had to have access to the dressing rooms and to the pulpit area whenever we were performing the baptism. And then the third thing is, well, where do we put the communion table and the pulpit? Well, the first thing I had recommended was that we put the pulpit on the right side and put a little elevator in there to make it disappear at 12:15. No, that's not true. But that's why it's located over there. It gives it an open area for us to perform plays and dances and musicians and concerts and things of that nature in the open space. The communion table was a gift from Dr. Denham, who was pastor after, he was here about 8 years, I believe. And then after that, he formed the counseling center, the Samaritan Center. And he gave that as a gift to the church when he left the church. And one of the statements that he made was that he hoped that it would never be moved from that location. Now, whether that's been violated or not, I don't know. And then, of course, the piano location was right where the choir director would want it. The organ is a Casavante organ that was made in Canada. It's a 100-rank organ. I don't have the number of pipes that it's got in, but it's over 100 that I know of. And the organ has a console unit that you play from over there at the left side of the sanctuary, and it's got a lift underneath it so that when you have one person performing, they can raise that up and he can be seen or she can be seen more visibly than it would be if it's lowered down where they're just playing for the choir. The choir loft is the same arrangement in the practice room right down below it. The same spacing, the same seating is there for that reason, so they get accustomed to what it's going to be when they get through practicing, come upstairs and sit in their seats. So that's an element that they felt was, as a building committee, that felt was desirous, and that's what we did. Interior structure of this size is the acoustical quality that you have in it. And so we retained a professor from the University of Texas who was an acoustical engineer and wrote a book on acoustics for churches. And he informed us that the best way to cut out the rebound of the noise that would come from hitting a wall was to curve the back windows. And if you look in the back windows, you see they're all curved. And the reason for that is that the sound that hits them bounces off in different directions. It doesn't come all direct to the pulpit area where it could drown out the speaker that was performing. The other thing is that if you see the brick in the rear of the sanctuary, there's 4 panels of it. Each one of those has, those openings have an insulating board that absorbs the sound. And the crosses are there made out of brick to represent the cross of Jesus. And that was a way of trying to hide a bunch of black stuff showing. The windows I think you've had before, Amy, but the windows represent the United States, South America, North America, and Asia, and all the world is represented in the fish, and we're fishers of men, according to the Baptist theology, and we cover the world. They never got to see each other because it was scattered all over the city as well in the building and across the street in the Edgar building and different locations, so nobody ever got to see anybody between the time that Sunday school ended and church began. And so what we made a decision to do in the design was to open up the Great Hall and create a space where you could walk all around the hall from all the rooms that are on all the floors and be able to see other people going into the sanctuary or running out to go home. Meetings that we had discussing the design of the building was that there was a lot of complaints about the entrance to the old church at 10th and Colorado. The problem was that we had about a 20 staircase to go up to get into the sanctuary, and then they had solid doors into the sanctuary, so you never got to see the inside of the sanctuary until you were inside. So what we made a joint decision was to open up the entrance to the sanctuary by putting solid glass features in the entry from the hall, as well as the front doors are all solid glass so that we could have people invited in to the church without having to worry about what door is open, what door is closed, can we get in, and so forth. And that was a design feature that they really wanted to happen. There's a bell tower out in front of the church, and it's got a bell that's located in the top of it. It's about 80 feet high, and it's electronically rung now, but it used to be over at the old church, and we brought it over from there and mounted it in this location. And what the bell was used for primarily was to not only call all the people that belonged to the church to come in on Sunday, but if there's a fire in town, they would ring the bell. The firemen had access to get there and ring the bell and get help to put the fire out. And that's years and years ago.
That's cool.
One of the things that the church had was a shortage of budget when we built the church. And we thought it was estimated to be about $900,000, and it turned out to be $1.2 million as originally designed. Today it's probably worth 25 to 30 million. But so what we had to do was to go in there and design the 4th floor to be able to add that back on when we have enough money to finance the addition of the 4th floor. And so it was about another 125,000 square feet that we added to the building. And we left all we did was raise the glass centerpiece up and had columns that went up, and it was a very simple job to do, so it wasn't a hard job to do. It took about 6 months for the contractor to do.
as I recall, in the old building, the bathrooms were not easily accessible on the level that we were in the sanctuary. So you had to go out of the sanctuary to go to the bathrooms, and everybody knew where you were going.